Last Tuesday, I answered the same question 3 times. Why isn't this service page producing inquiries? Same diagnosis, same caveats, same 10-minute explanation. By the end of the day, I hadn't created anything new. I had just reassembled my own brain 3 times. Amis, good to have you here. Let me ask you something. What if your best judgment had an interface? Not a complicated software platform, not a robot pretending to be you. A simple, usable way for another person, a collaborator, or an AI tool to work with what you know without requiring you to explain it from scratch every single time. Here's the thing. A lot of solopreneurs don't have a knowledge problem, they have an access problem. Their best decisions are buried in calls, scattered notes, half-finished documents, and that strange place where we keep saying, I know it when I see it. Useful, perhaps. Reusable? Not yet. I call it practical solution, a personal API. The name sounds technical, but the idea is straightforward. Define the question you answer, the information you need, the rules that guide your judgment, and the results someone can actually use. Today, we'll build that idea around one fictional business and turn it into a one-page blueprint you can use this week. Imagine a 2-person landscaping company. It gets about 500 visits a month to its website, mostly through the homepage. The owner says, we need more traffic. That might be true. It might also be completely wrong. Maybe the right people are already visiting, but the service page is confusing. Maybe the quote form asks for too much. Maybe the company gets inquiries and cannot follow up quickly enough. So your first job isn't to leap into recommendations. Your first job is to find out what decision you're actually being asked to make. More traffic for what purpose? More quote requests? Benefit customers? Higher value projects? Fewer unqualified calls? If you skip that question, you can produce a very impressive answer to the wrong problem. Start with the question that keeps returning in your own work. Maybe it's, why isn't this website generating leads? Maybe it's, which content should we create next? Or what should we automate first? Don't choose the question that makes your framework sound clever. Choose the one that already consumes your time. Repetition is evidence that there may be demand for a clearer system. And then ask, what must I know before I can answer responsibly? For our landscaping company, that could be the business goal, the target customer, the main offer, the important page, the traffic source, and one measurable sign of success. That's enough to begin. You probably don't need 100 question intake forms. Open a blank page and write the recurring question at the top. Under it, write the minimum inputs. Then test each one. If I didn't have this information, would my recommendation change? If the answer is no, move that field out of the first version. A long form can look rigorous while quietly stopping people from using your process. This is the input contract. It tells the user what to bring and protects you from making a confident recommendation based on a vague request. A content strategist might need the audience, buying stage, existing authority, and production capacity. An automation builder might need the current process, task frequency, cost of mistakes, and any private information involved. But here's the trap. Experts often write rules that sound impressive and help nobody. It depends is usually true. It is also useless until you say what it depends on. For the landscaping site, try a sequence. If relevant people are not arriving, check positioning and search demand. If they arrive but do not inquire, check the offer, message, page structure, and next step. If inquiries arrive but go unanswered, the bottleneck may be follow-up rather than the website. Notice the difference. That's not a rigid formula. It's a visible starting path. Identify the outcome. Locate the bottleneck. Choose the smallest intervention likely to improve it. Then measure before reaching for a complete rebuild. Maybe the best first move is one clearer service page, a shorter quote form, better internal links, or a 2-week measurement period. And you need exceptions. If the data is incomplete, label the recommendation as provisional. If the business is in a sensitive or regulated area, add the right review. If a change could affect privacy, customer safety, or a material business decision, a qualified human stays involved. The point is not to remove judgment. It's to show where judgment begins, where evidence matters, and where the system must stop. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want to turn my judgment into a rigid checklist. Fair objection. Neither do I. A good system doesn't pretend that every situation is identical. It records the normal path, names the conditions that change the path, and makes uncertainty visible. That actually gives you more room for expert judgment because you're spending less energy repeating the obvious. Once the inputs and rules are clear, decide what the system should produce. One diagnosis can have several useful outputs. For the landscaping owner, you might provide a short recommendation, clarify the residential garden design offer, and simplify the quote path. You might create a checklist for rewriting the service page. You might give a writer a page brief, or you might send structured fields into an AI workflow. Audience, problem, promise, proof, objections, call to action, and review notes. That's where this becomes more than a folder of content. A library stores information. A usable interface helps someone move from a situation to a decision. It also becomes more than a prompt collection. A prompt can ask for an answer, but your system should define the context, the standard, the missing information, and the format of the result. If you involve AI, treat it like a junior collaborator. Give it the inputs. State the rules. Tell it what not to assume. Ask it to identify gaps and uncertainty. Require a consistent output. Then review the result before it becomes advice. I can organize information and draft options. It should not quietly inherit accountability for a decision that affects someone's business, privacy, or livelihood. Here's a simple one-page version. 5 headings. First, the recurring question. Second, the minimum inputs. Third, the decision rules, written as plain if-then statements. Fourth, the useful outputs. Fifth, the human review point. Add one more line beneath each output. What would make this weak? Maybe the evidence is missing. Maybe the recommendation doesn't match the business goal. Maybe the owner has no capacity to carry it out. A quality check keeps a neat-looking answer from becoming a careless one. Make the review point specific, not review before sending, right? A human confirms the goal, checks factual claims, removes private information, tests the priority against the available evidence, and approves the recommendation. Specific review is part of the system, not an apology for using one. Now resist the urge to build software. Test the page on 5 real cases first. Use recent projects, old questions, or small internal decisions. Look for failure points. If case 1 needs traffic data, case 2 needs sales data, and case 3 needs neither, don't automatically add every possible field. Ask which missing input actually changed the recommendation. If the output is technically correct but nobody knows what to do next, change the format. If your rule gives the wrong recommendation, repair the rule or the assumption. If 3 or 5 cases need the same missing input, add it. Testing isn't paperwork before the real work. It is how you discover what the real work is. Those 5 cases also help you choose the business model. If people want your judgment applied to their situation, offer a service with a defined intake and deliverable. If they repeatedly need the same artifact, package the checklist, template, or scorecard. If your own team loses time on the decision, keep it as an internal workflow. If the inputs and rules stay stable, then maybe build a small tool. And if the process changes often, a documented workflow with careful human review may be better than software. A polished product nobody needs is still a very efficient way to waste time. Start with the conversation you already keep having. Capture it. Make the judgment visible. Produce something useful. Test it. Then decide what deserves to become an asset. Let's connect the dots. The landscaping company didn't necessarily need 20 new articles. It needed a clear way to determine whether the problem was traffic, conversion, or follow-up. Once that diagnosis was repeatable, it could become a client audit, a page rewrite checklist, an internal workflow, or an AI-assisted draft that still receives human approval. That's the real shift. Stop asking only, what do I know? Ask, what decision does this knowledge help someone make? What must be true before I make it? And what can they do with the answer? Those questions turn expertise from something you repeatedly perform into something people can access responsibly. Before Friday, document one repeated decision on one page. Use 5 headings: question, inputs, rules, output, review. Then use it on one real case. If it saves you 10 minutes, great. If it exposes a missing rule, also great. Both outcomes teach you something valuable. Think about that for a moment. What part of your judgment is currently trapped in your head? And who could benefit if it became clear, repeatable, and responsibly usable? If this helps you think differently about your systems, subscribe to the show. I'll keep breaking down practical ways to build stronger digital assets, smarter workflows, and more independent businesses without chasing empty automation or get-rich-quick promises. I'm Ace. Well, that's enough to think about for today. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with me. I'll catch you in the next one.